This is a video tutorial on Google Cloud Messaging presented by serious Android developer, the Facebook group. Before we get into this tutorial, let me explain some basic or top knowledge what is actually the Google Cloud Messaging. Google Cloud Messaging is actually a push notification services that help the developer to send data from server to their application, you can say to the particular Android devices. Okay, consider a situation when a server has some data or an update for a particular client. We need to build our application in such a manner that it automatically checks for an update at a regular interval. This is actually called a polling mechanism. In this mechanism, we need to create a background process, and in Android, for creating a background process, we have a service class. But service class has some disadvantage. If the service class is running for the indefinite period of time, the later on the Android system actually changes its priority or running priority to a lower, and ultimately the service class dies out. Here in GCM, there is no polling mechanism. Actually, what happens whenever server has some data for a particular device, the app sends the data to the GCM server, and the GCM server pushes the data in the form of push notification to the device. The device wakes up that particular app, that is our app, and at that moment our app start in the process. Let us take some overview about GCM. GCM is a free service. Any developer can use this service and take advantage of this technology. And GCM is basically a message notification service, so the message or payload should not be greater than 4 KB. The GCM service also handle all the aspect of queuing mechanism of message. For example, there may be a situation when user get into an offline state, and the server may have sent the data to the GCM server. At that moment, the GCM server keep the data in a queued form, and whenever the phone come in on online state, all the data which is queued at the GCM server or the GCM site, all the data are pushed to the phone. Okay, let us discuss about the requirements. We require an application server. Secondly, we need a Google account, and the third, the Android 4 or an emulator with a Google API. Before we move further, we should know the basic terminology of GCM. The first, the registration ID. This ID is actually issued by the GCM server to the Android app. Once the Android app receives this registration ID, it needs to send this registration ID to the third-party application server. This registration ID is actually used to send the data from GCM server to the Android app, that particular app. Second, the sender authentication token. This is an OAuth 2.0 API key. It is actually saved on third-party application server. Whenever the app server has some data to be sent to the phone, the app need to send the HTTP request to the GCM server. So every HTTP request need to be authenticated. This API key is actually act as a password or an authentication token in order to authenticate every HTTP request it is used. Finally, the sender ID. This is actually a project ID which we acquired from the API console, and this sender ID is saved in the is used during the registration process in order to identify the Android app. Let us discuss the architecture or how it works. This is a GCM server or a Google Cloud, the Android phone, our app or application server. For the first moment, the app send an activation request to the GCM server, and the GCM server immediately give response to the phone with a registration ID. This registration ID is a unique, and the phone must send the registration ID to the app server or a third-party application server. This registration ID is used to send the data to the phone via the GCM server. whenever the app server has a data or an update for that particular phone, using this session ID with the data, send it to the GCM server, and the GCM server immediately pushes the data to the phone. Get access to the Google server. You need to create a Google API project. Open this code.google.com/apis/console and create a Google API project, and that API project should be activated with GCM API service. And after creating this Google API project, you should note down the project number. This project number is actually sender ID, and this API key, that is the sender authentication token. I will show you how to create this project and where is this project number and the API key. Let us open Google API console. You must log in. Click on create project. Okay, now you have to create a new Google API project. Click on the API project here and click create. Give any name like GCM project 9. Click on create project. Wait, and the GCM project 9, your project is created. Now you have to activate the Google Cloud Messaging for Android, and now everything is set. That means we have created a Google API project, and in that Google API project we activated the Google Cloud Messaging for Android. Now we need to note down something, that is the API key and the sender app name or project name. Click on the app API access. This API key is used as an authentication token, and this project number. Click on overview and you can find this project number. There's two things are required: the API access key, API key, and in the overview we have the project number. Okay, writing code at client side or creating an Android application for GCM. Consider we have created a new project with a project package name in.series android developer.gcm with 4 permission and 1 permission, simple permissions. There is internet permission, get account, com.google.com.c2dm permission.receive, use permission in dot, this is the package name in red mark, permission.c2dm underscore message, and similarly c2dm message with an Android protection level signature. This is used to for privacy or for whenever the GCM data is received. The data is received using the broadcast receiver. The other app cannot able to get your GCM data. This is for that restriction, and this is the definition. I mean, if we create an activity, we specify the activity tag, and similarly this is for the broadcast receiver. You have to specify everything as specified here, and the CGS broadcast receiver is the class name of the broadcast receiver. Let us create a new project. Right, project, GCM in dot developer dot GCM rest delete, and then we create and finish. Let us move to the manifest. Open let's go directly copy paste this. I don't know where is the database. I don't want everything is okay some there. Then we need to create a broadcast receiver class. Copy and paste inside the application tag. Okay, save. Before any problem get created, let us create this class, CDS broadcast receiver class. Go to the source, right click on this package, new class, paste the CDS broadcast receiver, click on finish. Okay, let us open the layout file and set two button. This is one button, activate, and second button, activate. Okay, the activate button 1 is the ID, and for the activate ID is button 2. Now let us open this main activity, button 1, button 2. Now we link we should okay, it's okay, set one dot set on okay. This is for activation and this is for deactivation. And let us get back to the slide. To activate our app, we need to execute this code. Again, copy everything, import intent. Okay, here is the sender ID, and I said it before, the sender ID is the project name. Open the Google API console, GCM project, copy this project number, copy it, and paste. This is for the activation. If you want to deactivate it, the activation and deactivation, and everything's done. So there may be a question arises, then here is the activation, where is the response processing? I mean, there may be say after activation we will get the registration ID. I said it before, but here the broadcast receiver class receive the activation and as well as the messages. Now let us create the broadcast receiver. Extends broadcast receiver. Now we have to implement some method. These are the implement. Now you can notice here that there are two types of action. One is for the registration and the second is the message. Here you can say this data 1, data 2. It depends upon your server. I mean in which key it is sending. If the key is data 1 or data 2, and we will receive the data in a data 1 data 2 keys. Okay. There may be a 1 or 2 keys, or it can be 100 keys. It depends upon, but total size of the data of the payload should not be exceed 4 KB. Okay. Let's create this. Copy. Set. Let us create a log UO registration ID sent. So whenever we send an activations request, in response this broadcast receiver executed, and if it is the registration type of an activity, this section is executed, and if the real message is received, this section is executed. Let us run this app. Right click, run. This is our activity. Let us open the log file and logcat, clear it. If I press this activate button, you will receive this access token. Sorry, you will receive this registration ID. This response is actually coming from the GSM server. Okay, this is the part of registration, and this is the message part, that is the payload part. And during registration process we will get a null value of this registration ID, and this registration ID contains the registration ID. And similarly this unregistered, whenever you execute a deactivation for GSM service, and the unregistered will get a non-null value. You have to handle everything. If there is some kind of an error during that process, you have to handle it. These are the things to handle it. Create like this: if error dot equals if service is not available. These are the details, and you have to handle everything. Also uploaded the source code of this app. It contain all the detailed way how to use it, so I'm not explaining it here. And similarly this is the payload, and these are the key, and the data is inside this method, and that data 1 and data 2 will have that data. Okay. let us talk about writing a source code in server side. To implement a server side coding, we need to send a HTTP request to the GCM server in order to send the data. Okay, once we have the registration ID at the server side, and it's your headache how you will send the registration ID from the client side to the our application server. This code is going to run on the application server. I will also give the source code of this. You need to send the HTTP request to the GCM server using this URL, and your HTTP request contain two parts: header and body. Your header should have your key equal to your API key, that is which we have note down it before from the Google API console, and the content type should be application/JSON if you want to process the JSON response, and the application/this for if you want to solve simple UTF-8 plain text. And inside your HTTP body, you should send the data plus registration ID. The registration ID is a unique ID of that particular device, that is you have to handle your server, and it's your headache how you save the registration ID if you have multiple devices connected to your server. So for that case you have to create a database. Let us see the source code. Okay, I made the applications app server within the Android app, so that everything should be easy for me to explain you. I'm sending an HTTP request to this URL with an HTTP header with authorization key equal to, please notice here that HTTP header key is authorization and value is key equal to the API key. This is the API key which I already described about it. We can get it from the Google API. And similarly the content type, application X www form, it is also, I explained it before. And this is key for registration ID, and the registration ID is a unique ID of particular mobile device. And this is the data 1 and data 2, message 1 and message 2. And if you wish, you can add more than, you can add more than 2 or 1, or you can set it as a 1. And that's all. You have to execute this HTTP request, send, and you will receive it on the phone. Okay, this is the client side app. I modified it so that you can learn it, and I uploaded the source code of this description of the video, or you can find it on the group itself. So here is the registration ID. I will copy it. Copied. I will open the server code. Wait. Here is the server, and client registration. I paste the registration ID, data, say data 1 and data 2. In order to get message, I didn't use the log, I used a notification service. So if I send the GSM send, if I press this GSM send button, in the notification you will get data 1 and data 2. This is the client side app, and done. Thank you for watching this video.